Syracuse is yet to win an ACC championship since joining in 2013, and today we're going to be rebuilding them until we win not just an ACC championship, but a national championship as well. Now the good news is we already have a pretty good team going into this season, as they ended up going 10-3 last year, but our defense does have a lot of seniors on that side of the ball, so unfortunately we're going to be replacing a lot of guys this season and in the coming years as well. But thankfully we do have a really talented freshman cornerback who I think is going to end up staying at the school because his deal breaker is conference prestige, and I don't see the ACC getting any worse. Not just that, but he's also star development as well. And on the offensive side of the ball, Yazin Willis is going to be a really great halfback for us over the next couple seasons. I mean, he is only impact development, but again, his deal breaker is playing time, and as long as he actually stays at an 81 plus, I think he's going to be our halfback going forward. Obviously, that's only going to be for a couple more years, so we're going to have to think about replacing him and getting another halfback on the board. So even though we're hoping to find a couple gems here out of high school, again, we're really going to be relying a lot on the transfer portal to be able to fill out this team. And we finally found our first gem, a 4-star free safety out of Georgia with 93 speed and great zone coverage. And then another gem, potentially a future quarterback, a 4-star out of Chicago with 86 throw power and 81 speed. But to get a lot of those guys, we're really going to have to build on that 10-3 record from last season, but unfortunately we got some pretty tough matchups, including 22 Tennessee to start off the season, 7 Clemson, 19 SMU, 12 Miami, and even 5 Notre Dame. But per usual, we're only going to be jumping into games where we have guys visiting that week, so that means we're going to be skipping games like this one against Tennessee, a game which we unfortunately dropped 41-23. I mean, our offense didn't play bad, 269, 3 touchdowns from Angeli, not a ton on the ground, 76. And even though the defense got pressure, they just gave up way too many points. But at least we were able to keep up with the top 25 team, and we didn't end up getting blown out. Let's hope we can end up taking on UConn, though, even though they're 1-0. And we did, but just barely. But now we're going to keep the winning ways going as we're going to take on FCS East before we end up taking on Clemson. But now we're getting to the point where we can actually schedule guys for visits. So Cortez Bordelais, a left guard, is going to be coming in against Pitt. It's going to be a rivalry game, so high risk, high reward. And even though we ended up beating the FCS team, we have a lot of guys that are locking us out, and unfortunately, it's because of the playing style. And I don't think things are going to get much better after that one, because we end up dropping to Clemson, and we're 2-2 now. And even though we only have one ranked opponent in our next 5 games, everyone has at least 3 wins and a couple teams that are undefeated. And that includes Duke, who ended up going to 5-0 after beating us 40-9. And also includes Pittsburgh, who's 4-0, who we have to take on because we end up having guys visiting that week. And we better play well because after a loss against SMU 31-28, we're sitting at 2-4 and we're losing battles on a lot of guys. But don't let the overall fool you. They're 6-0 this season, and this is going to be a really tough matchup. Good news is we're at home, and hopefully we can get some guys to end up signing. I mean, good news is we're going to end this first quarter tied up 7-7, and hopefully we can pick up the first down right here and keep this drive going. I mean, we're on their side of the field, and we really like to keep this going, as we're going to hit our tight end across the middle. Great accuracy, and we got it down in the red zone. Now all we got to do is just pound this into the end zone. Let's see what we can do, as we have a little bit of patience, and we end up hitting Ross Simmons for almost a first. Now, if this offense can continue to produce like that in this game, we might be able to hand them their first loss as we get down to the 1-yard line. Let's pound this in. Willis is already having a pretty good game, and why not let him just cap off this drive? And by that, I mean on this play right here, as we find the hole and we finally get in. But their offense is on the verge of scoring right here, but 3rd and 7, let's see if we can keep them out of the end zone as we do. And thankfully that's going to allow us to continue to keep this lead. Thankfully we're also able to get into field goal range before the end of half, and we might have a chance to be able to go up by 7 as we do have the distance. Unfortunately they were able to tie it up, and that means that we need to make a comeback here at the end of this game as we end up getting a nice little screen out there, and we end up getting close up to midfield. Best part is we pretty much have all the time in the world. We just need to make sure that we're the ones with the ball here at the end of the game, as they go for a pretty much all-out blitz, and we end up picking up a 3rd and 4. Thankfully, at the 2-minute warning, we're on their side of the field, and we got ourselves a 1st and 10 as we turn this back, and we just can't get any yards. But we need to remember, we are still in control here, and we, again, just need to make sure that we hold on to this ball for the rest of the game as we get to Cook. We are playing a little timid right now, but we can't have that here at the end of this game as he gets separation, and we end up getting up to a 4th and 1 on the 40. They're 6-0, we're 2-4. If we want to have any chance of winning this, we need to, again, hold on to this ball right here. We just can't punt it away. So let's go in motion right here. We need to find someone who is going to be open for the first, and that's going to be our little drag, and that's going to be Cook for a big first down. All we got to do is just run this clock down now and stay in field goal range. And if we can get even more yards like this by Willis, we're going to be good to go. We just need to make sure that we can center this one up and make sure it's an easy kick for our kicker. And we even get it a little bit closer too. And this would be really huge for us. We have guys visiting. We're taking on a team that is 6-0. And if we can hit this field goal right here, we end up taking them down. And we pick up our 3rd win of the season. And hopefully, we're going to see a couple commit screens at the end of this one. Because we take down, again, an undefeated team and take them down 20-17. And of course, Willis, our sophomore, 92 yards on 14 attempts with 2 touchdowns. Definitely MVP in that one. And while we didn't get any commits, we opened up a lot of other battles, and we're first on a lot of these boards. And someone's going to want to sign now. Ross Simmons, 9 receptions, 132 and 4 touchdowns en route to beating Georgia Tech. So let's see if we can replicate that in this game against North Carolina, because we're at home and we got some people visiting. They're 3-4, even though they have a better overall than us. But come on, we just took care of undefeated Pittsburgh. I think we can take care of North Carolina too. The good news is it looks like we're going to be the ones that end up scoring first if we can get a good screen off here without any blocks though, which is going to make this a really ridiculous 3rd and 15. But thankfully he gets free, and I think we go for it on 4th. I mean, no guts, no glory, am I right? As we end up picking up this one, and we got the touchdown to score first. It was all pretty much North Carolina after that, as they're going to take us down 27-14. And I think we just lost a couple of recruits. And should we be surprised after a 4-interception performance by Angeli? I don't know if that was a product of just poor offensive play or good defensive play by North Carolina, but either way, that bumps us down to 4-5, and we need to take down Miami if we wanted to have any shot at bowl eligibility. And surprisingly enough, we did, 23-18. So even though it's not going to be the same 10-3 record as last season, at least we're at 500 right now. And finally, we get our first commit, Jordan Orgy? Sam linebacker, 4-star. And also, we're going to end up getting a right edge as well, another 4-star. And apparently our team is starting to come together or something, because we beat Notre Dame 33-28, and now we're bowl eligible. But that leaves it up to us to pick up our 7th win of the season. I think if we end up doing that, we guarantee ourselves a bowl game. It'd be really nice to be able to get that, especially against Boston College, a rivalry game. It's been a pretty quiet game so far, but we have a chance to end up scoring first. Granted, it is here in the 2nd quarter, but as long as we can get some blocks, which we didn't, but we still found a way to get up to the 1. The downside is Willis went down with an injury, so that leaves Nixon right here to be able to get in the end zone and vulture that touchdown. Well, things were looking good, but unfortunately now we're down by 3 here in the 4th. They made a miraculous comeback, and that has not been good for our team, as we end up scrambling this one out, and we pick up a first down to about the 40. We don't have any timeouts, so we got to stay towards the sideline, or something very similar to that, as we're going for a deep shot right here. Why not? And we end up throwing a pick. That's not surprising, unfortunately, as we need to try to jar the ball loose, and we don't. And that's how we drop to Boston College and lose even more recruits. We should have kept going for the short passes, because again, realistically, the field goal would have brought us to an overtime game, but still, we finished the season 6-6. We just need to be better than that in the next couple seasons. But despite losing it, we still end up signing the 4-star strong safety, which is great. I didn't think we were going to get so many 4-stars, including the free safety as well. And it looks like Heisman this year ended up going to a receiver, Zachariah Branch, 1,463 yards, 13 touchdowns. And despite the loss, we still get invited to a bowl game, thankfully, the Sun Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Let's see if we can beat the Raging Cajuns. But thankfully now we do get to see the depth traits of the guys that we end up signing, as the strong safety, the 4-star is a normal development. We do have star on our free safety, as well as the outside linebacker, and then impact on our power rusher, but we'll see where he'll end up fitting in best. But again, our main focus is winning the Sun Bowl here against Louisiana. And we're 6-6 this season, but we look like a much better team. Let's see if we can come away with a positive note in this first season. Thankfully, we have a chance to score some points here before the end of the first quarter, as we're going to be able to hit our halfback. Hopefully he can find a hole, gets close to a first down. But we shouldn't have any issue getting into the end zone here on this drive, as we get almost there on that one. But I know our offensive line can overpower their entire defense, as we end up getting in for the first score of the game. Unfortunately, they've been piling on the points here since that first score, and now we need to find a way to end up getting in the end zone, give ourselves a chance to be able to come back. I mean, it's only 11 yards right here, and I think that's going to be pretty easy for us to get, as we'll get our tight end for a couple. And we have all 3 timeouts, so I feel like our defense can end up holding them here, as we hit our tight end again for a touchdown. Oh, it was a hard-fought battle, but we did end up getting the ball back. I don't know if we're going to be able to score here, but hey, you know what? We can always try as we just go deep on this one. This was stupid, and we're not going to get that. But someone's bound to get open. Hopefully we can get it within range to be able to score, as we actually had our tight end open, and we should have hit him. At this point, we just want a first down, realistically, just to get a little bit closer. And there it is right there, and we're just going to have to rush. Oh, he stays on his feet. We're going to have to rush to the line. So we got to get this off really quickly. Come on, let's hurry up. Let's get this one out, and let's find a way to hit him in the corner. And that's going to be knocked down. And that brings us to our final opportunity right here. We need a lot of luck to be able to make this work out for us, as we're just going to loft that up, and he can't catch that. That gets intercepted, and that makes a lot of sense. And that's how we end up losing the Sun Bowl. 21-13. We were better on paper, but we just couldn't put it together in the game, and unfortunately, we're going to have to come out better next season. And seeing Angeli end the season with almost as many interceptions as touchdowns leads me to wonder if he's really going to be our quarterback next season, if he even decides to stay, because you see that deal breaker down there. Thankfully, Willis almost got around 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns for him. Nixon actually got in a little bit as well. But in terms of receivers, Gill, Cook, 2 guys that are going to be back next season, especially as you see with those deal breakers right there, leading the receiver room, each with 4 touchdowns. Ross Simmons, his final season, 8 touchdowns himself, and he's going to be graduating. And honestly, we're really going to miss David Reese here. 13 TFL, 6.5 sacks in that season. He's definitely going to be someone who's going to be missed. But thankfully, someone who I think, again, is going to be a star for us over the next couple seasons. Demetrius Samuel Jr., our freshman with 3 picks this season. And after Texas ended up beating Penn State in the national championship game 35-31, we got to focus on the offseason and get a lot of these transfers in. Especially since we have a lot of guys that really want to transfer here. And a lot of guys that have a very low persuasion chance. I mean, look how many guys that we're going to end up losing here. Question is, who are we going to try to bring back? I mean, I know he's a freshman quarterback and we're bringing someone else in, but Bellin would be really nice to be able to potentially keep around to have as a backup, and unfortunately, he is going to be gone. We also have a receiver who's a 73 overall. He is going to be gone as well. I don't know why I clicked the none, and we are not going to get any of these guys back next season. But again, that's why we really need to focus on the transfer pool, where we actually have a pretty good selection of guys here. Thankfully, through that process, we went from a class of 4 to 24. And again, we've already seen a couple of these dev traits, but as we look down, looks like most people are just impact or normal. We do have a couple stars, a free safety, outside linebackers, which is great too, even a wide receiver. So it's actually nice to see some better development traits. And now thankfully we'll be able to move a couple of guys around just to be able to make the positions a little bit better. And we're going to take our one athlete and put him over there at edge as a 73 overall. Now our quarterback room doesn't necessarily look great, hoping that Carney could potentially be one of the better quarterbacks here. But we got Shepard and Loftus as well. Looks like we have a couple of sophomores that are working their way up the depth chart as our wide receivers. And for some reason, Coach had Byron Washington at right guard, and he's only a 54 over there. He's a much better left guard and even potentially a center as well. But we are going to move him to right tackle. We need another guy over there to be able to back up our starter. And while our defensive line looks a little sparse right now, we actually have a lot of linebackers and a lot of guys in the secondary. I mean, we have 9 corners, we have 7 safeties, and including 2 strong safeties as well, and they're going to be the centerpiece of this defense. But that means we can take some of these guys like Aguero here and actually move them down to linebacker. We need a good Sam, and an 81 overall ain't bad. Now, unfortunately, I left auto progression on for this first season. We're going to turn it off for future ones, but none of our quarterbacks really went up too much. And looking at Carney, who I was hoping was going to actually be the next quarterback, unfortunately, he's got so many skill caps. So beyond this season, I don't know how much better he's going to end up getting. Unfortunately, Williams didn't do much better. Granted, again, he's pretty much at his skill caps too. So I guess that means that we're going to be relying on Ajani Shepard. I mean, he is a junior, so we'll have him for an extra year, and hopefully can actually max out some of these skill caps. Now, Willis ended up taking a nice little jump all the way up to an 85 overall. Wide receivers, Cook, huge 7-point jump up to a 91. And we even have McFadden, who's a freshman redshirt, at an 81 overall. And even though the rest of the defense didn't really progress too much, Samuel ended up going up 6 overall, Peel up 3, and we have all of our corners in the 70s or 80s. Johnson went up to a 92 overall, Davis up to an 85, and even our sophomore up to a 70. And then Hubbard, of course, goes up to a 92. And with those progressions, we actually go to an 82 overall as a team with a really strong defense as well. So hopefully that means that we can improve in Season 2. But even with those increases, I still think that we're a little while away from being able to challenge for the ACC Championship. But thankfully, we actually do have a lot of guys that are interested up here and ones that are in positions that we really need. The question is, are we going to have an easier time this season bringing in these 4 and 5 stars as we did last season? Because last season, we only had 4 commits by the time the end of the season rolled around, and we'd like to get a lot more before we actually get to that point this season. But it looks like our schedule doesn't look horrible. Starting off with FCS East, then we got Rice, we got Pittsburgh, UConn, and then of course we get into conference play and everything too. We do have 3 top 25 teams, SMU, Louisville, and Clemson to go against. But honestly, as long as we end up winning more than we won last season, I'll be happy. And handily beating FCS East 48-7 is always a great start to the season. And even though it's only an FCS game, our quarterback was perfect. 280 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But Willis on the ground, 112 and 3 touchdowns. And thankfully, we had a very similar outcome against Rice, 34-15. But we don't have anyone visiting for a couple weeks, not until week 6 against SMU. So we're going to be simming a couple more games, including this rivalry game against Pittsburgh on the road. Let's hope we can stay perfect. But we don't. We drop it 17-13 and we lose our first conference game. So that just goes to what I said about us not being able to really compete for the ACC Championship at this point. Still think that's going to be a year or 2 away, but hopefully we can still beat a team like UConn, which we do. It's our non-conference schedule that's easy, but getting into the conference, that's what's going to be difficult. But now we finally get to hop into a game, and it's a conference game as well. It looked daunting at one point, but SMU's dropped to 2-2. Still not a bad team. We're better than them on paper, so maybe that means that we can come away with a win on this one. Thankfully, we've really been dominating this game, 14-7. Almost at half right now. I mean, damn, I wish it was 14-0, but still, we've been in pretty good control of this game as we get this to the outside and get up for a 3rd and 3. And we have all the time in the world right now, but we do want to get into the end zone here before the end of the half as McFadden picks up the first. SMU is going to start using their timeouts now, but still, that's not going to affect us getting in the end zone as we do on that one right there. And that's pretty much been the story of this entire second half, is we're up 35-7. With 3 minutes to go and a chance to get them off the field here on 4th and 3 as we send 4 and they get it but just out of bounds and we get the ball back. An absolutely dominant win over a team that started the season in the top 25. I think this team is looking a lot better than I thought it would in year 2. And wins like that will drive more commitments as we end up getting the 5-star QB, Kyrie Cloud, the best one that we saw in this class. I don't want to talk too much about him because I didn't think that we were going to get him, but honestly, a 93 throw power. I know 79 speed isn't extremely fast, but still, decent accuracies, and again, as a 5-star, I hope he develops quickly. But we have a lot more guys that we need to sign in this class, aside from that 5-star. So let's see if we can take down Virginia and sign a couple more. Not only did we pick up the win, but Willis ended up being ACC Offensive Player of the Week. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a similar outcome against North Carolina as we drop at 38-21, and our winning streak ends. We go to 2-2 in conference. But like I said, we're still a couple seasons away, I think, from competing for the ACC Championship. So let's just be happy with the fact that we're already sitting at 5-2, and hopefully we can take down Louisville in the process. Well, the offense has been going back and forth so far in this game, but we got a chance to go up here before the end of half. And let's see if we can end up taking it right here, as that's going to be Murph all the way down to the 15. And while we do only have 30 seconds left, we do have a couple timeouts, and I think that we can definitely work with that as we get that to a 1st and goal. So who's going to be the lucky receiver here? Hopefully it's going to be Gill Jr. Can't hold on to it. Can he do it this time though, as we get it out in time? And that's going to be a touchdown before half to go ahead. And thankfully every time that they scored, we ended up scoring, and thanks to that one touchdown that we had, we ended up having the advantage for the rest of the game, and we should pick up this victory right here. I mean, it may not have been a monstrous win like we had against SMU, but still, a victory over Louisville here, another conference opponent, is awesome. 28-21. Not just that, but Ajani Shepherd, 213 with 4 touchdowns, the one to lead the way today. Well, instead of picking up commits, we actually ended up losing a couple guys. But still, we're still going to get a lot of guys in the transfer portal, and that's where we're really going to make a difference. Things aren't going to get any easier since we have to sit through this game against 22 Boston College. They're 6-2 as well, but I still think it's going to be a difficult game to win. And I was not wrong. We dropped that one 34-16. And now we got one more road game before we finish off 2 at home with guys visiting. Thankfully, we barely take down Notre Dame, which gives us our 7th win of the season. Speaking of 7, we're going to have to take on Clemson at home, who's ranked number 7. And again, we got guys visiting this week and next week, so let's hope that we can get some more commits than just the one. Worst part is their defense is a 94 overall, which is going to be extremely tough for our 81 overall offense. Hoping that our defense can have an easier time this game, but again, this is going to be a tough one to pull off. And surprisingly enough, we're staying in this game. In the second half, we're only down by 3, and we're down in the red zone. So if we can find a way to pull ahead and get into the end zone, we can kind of replicate what happened in real life today. Yes, Syracuse did end up beating Clemson today in real life, and it'd be really nice to replicate that here. But we're going to need a lot more than just one touchdown right here, because we're going to require a couple stops as well, as Willis breaks that, but stops short. But we're just going to try to pound this one in right here as we get no blocks. And again, we shouldn't be incredibly surprised. This is a damn good defense. So let's find a way to pick this up right here as Cook ends up getting in the end zone, and we got ourselves a lead and an invisible player. And thankfully, we've been able to maintain this lead into the fourth quarter, as we still got a 4-point lead and we're down in the red zone. At the very least, we need a field goal, but if we can get into the end zone, that'd be a little bit better. Yes, that may be a dumb comment. Obviously, we need to get in the end zone to make this better, but still, you know what I mean, as Tremble gets that, and that's going to be a first down. And we'll love to run the clock down right here. Still feel like getting in the end zone, getting a 2-possession lead is going to be the best course. And here's the moment of truth. Can we replicate real life? Can we pick up a stop here on 4th down to be able to end this game as they go for the run up the middle? And we got this dub. 28-17 against a top 10 opponent again. It's pretty insane. I'm glad we ended up picking up that win. And again, hopefully that means that we'll get a couple commits. And finally, we get a couple more. We do get a 5-star cornerback, which is really great, including a 3-star Mike linebacker, as well as a 4-star edge. And not just that, but we actually get into the top 25 for the first time in this rebuild. Number 24, but we got to take on 8-3 California. And again, with a couple guys still visiting this week, we need to pick up a big dub here. On paper, we are exactly the same team. Now let's just go out there and prove that we're a better one this season. Well, so much for that, as we're getting absolutely bodied here in the third quarter. We're finally going to get in for a second score of the day, but we're still down 2 possessions. And honestly, I thought this game was over. Cal was dominating the entire game, but we have a chance to come back here. 2 minutes, we're only down by 6. We have a chance to make a difference as Tremble does hold on. When we usually throw balls like that, they end up getting knocked out, but thankfully that was not the case on that one. And we're also going to hit Gill Jr. past midfield. Now, even if we find a way to win this game, we definitely did not deserve a victory on this one. Because, again, Cal has just been playing out of their mind in that first half. I mean, only scoring 3 points in the second half is a little rough for them, as we don't pick up the first down. I just wanted to get a fresh set right there, but apparently we have to do it on this play, as we'll hit our tight end. And we're caught in a little predicament here, because we need to get in the end zone, but at the same time, we do not want to give them a lot of time to respond as we sail that over our halfback's head. Worst part is we only have 2 timeouts too, so if we don't get in the end zone here, that might just be game over, as we're going to hit Gill Jr. Can't hold on again. And we are in 4-down territory, so no matter what ends up happening here, we're going for it on 4th down. If we get to that point, we're going to try to hit our tight end, and that's unfortunately going to be the end of the game. We should have went with a better read right there, and our comeback gets stifled, and we're going to end up dropping 27-21. Again, just a really bad read by me, and unfortunately, our first game in the top 25 ends up being dropped to Cal. I don't know if we're going to get any commits after this one, but man, that's a heartbreaking one to lose. But like I said, the way that we end up playing that game, we didn't deserve to win anyways. Thankfully, we still end up getting a couple commits, a 4-star tight end, which is going to be extremely helpful. We're running low on them. We also have Soliday, who is a 4-star halfback as well. And despite the fact that we were 8-4 and ended up being in the top 25 for at least a week, we still finished near the bottom of the ACC at number 9. I think the most surprising thing about that, though, is the fact that Duke is undefeated this season. Thankfully, we get another one, but lose a couple more. The good news is, statistically, we actually had a pretty good season this year. I went 8-4, which, again, wish we could have went 9-3, but still, Shepard had a great year. 2,800, 27 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. It's going to be tough to replace him if we want that new quarterback to come in and start right away. But still, we'll end up seeing what ends up happening. Now, Willis did have 891 with 11 touchdowns, just short of 1,000. Maybe he can pick up some in our bowl game. And then McFadden, Gill, Murph, Tremble, and even Willis, all kind of around the same, along with Cook as well. Unfortunately, no one who really stood out, but we distributed it pretty evenly. And defensively, my lord, 15 TFLs, 6 sacks for Amapariola? I'm probably mispronouncing that, but who gives a damn? Orlando Childress, 8 TFLs, 4 sacks as well. And then Orgy, my guy, 6 TFLs and 2.5 sacks. We did have 3 interceptions from Davis, 2 from Peel, but unfortunately Demetrius Samuel Jr. did not have a repeat of his freshman year. And when all's said and done, Arch Manning ends up getting the Heisman. Obviously that's not happening in real life right now, but still, not bad for him as we end up getting the Game Above Sports Bowl against Miami University. Not the one in Florida, we're in Ohio. But the good news though is now we can actually see the depth traits of these guys who ended up signing. And thankfully, the quarterback, Kyrie Cloud, comes in as a star. Same with our corner, unfortunately normal on the edge, and a couple of impact players as well. But nice to see the quarterback be a star. And even though this isn't a playoff game, we still want to win a bowl game. We lost ours last year, but hopefully we'll have an easier time against a team with a 59 overall defense. And this one's been a no-doubter since the beginning. I mean, this is a massacre. 42-9. There is no shot that they're going to end up coming back here. And if we can tack on a couple more, that'd be awesome. And why not cap it off with another passing touchdown right here as we get it out in the corner, but he can't hold on. Shouldn't have expected him to catch that one, but that's okay because we're going to run right up the middle here, and Willis is going to pick up another touchdown today. And like I said, they didn't even stand a chance. 49-9, how did we end up in the same bowl game? I mean, Shepard had a decent game, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But Willis, man, what a monster of a game. 106 and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Thanks to that performance, he becomes the ACC Offensive Player of the Week, and obviously enough to be National Offensive Player of the Week as well. And one last look, because unfortunately we're just short of 1,000 yards with Willis after that game. But still, 16 tutties is nothing to be sad about. And thankfully, after a successful season, that means that we have less guys that want to transfer out. But still, these are guys that we're definitely going to need. We do have 8 persuasion chances, and we got 7 guys here, so let's hope that we can get someone. As McFadden is gone, he was a great receiver for us last year. Hill is gone, our halfback. Kerr is going to be gone as well. Can we get one guy to stay? Not on our quarterback, Carney. Childress decided to stay, thankfully, and that is going to be a left edge. Someone we definitely need. Williams is gone, and unfortunately, I think that Stewart is going to be gone too. We're only able to get one of these guys back. But the good news is, 3 of the guys that are leaving are getting drafted, and all 3 of them in the second round as well. 1 on the offensive side, 2 in our secondary. But that does mean that we're losing a lot of guys that we're going to have to replace, and it's not like we have a ton of options here in the portal, but let's see how many of these guys we can actually get. And despite losing out on a couple of these battles, we still signed a ton of guys. I may have lost a corner and a D tackle and even a wide receiver, but still, we got a pretty big class here. And we ended up with 25 guys. I mean, granted, some of these guys are normal development, but we do see a couple of impacts. And obviously, we already saw a couple of the stars as well. The question is, do we see elite on any of these guys? As we do not. And thankfully, that was enough to sign a top 20 class. Maybe not as good as Clemson or Miami, but still, being a top 25 is really nice. And the awesome thing is, Cloud actually comes in as a 76 overall. Unfortunately, with progression and everything like that, Shepard and Loftus will both be better than them, but Cloud will be here for, hopefully, the remainder of this rebuild. While there isn't much else that we ended up moving around, realize that even though we ended up getting a couple guys in like the 70s and even some of the corners up into like the 80s, we need a lot of progression here to stay as good as we were this last season. And after the season that Amapariola ended up having, he ends up going up to impact for his depth trade now. And actually, so does Davis. Nice to see a couple of these guys actually get that improvement. And since we only have him for one more season, Shepard's got to really increase this accuracy because, again, especially since the freshman quarterback probably won't be the starter, we want to make sure that he is as high as possible of an overall, just to make sure that we have a pretty decent season this year. And that actually, even though you can't see it, brings him up to an 87 overall as a quarterback. And since it is Willis's final season, I think we're going to end up doing the quickness one. And unfortunately, we would have to do it one more time if we want to be able to get shifty. But unfortunately, I don't think that we have enough points for that. So instead, what we're going to end up doing is just make sure that we spend as many as possible and get them up pretty high. And after progression, even though no one is in the 90s, we got a lot of guys in the high 80s, including our junior cornerback, Demetrius Samuel at an 89 so far. And I'm really hoping that a lot of these progressions are going to put us up over an 82. And with the team sitting at an 86 overall across the board, I'm hoping that maybe this season we can actually compete for the ACC. I still think that we're a season or two away, but still, with Penn State being the only ranked team that we have on our schedule this season, it might actually be possible. But even if we do, we need to recruit some guys for the next 2 seasons as well, because I think that's going to be our championship window. Thankfully, we have a couple good guys to choose from, including a couple gems here at the top. But being able to land them is really, I think, going to hinge on this first game. If we don't win this one, I think we're going to start in a hole with a lot of these guys, and we really want to get them to commit. But it's a tough one on the road against number 2 Penn State. We're going to have to sim it. And unfortunately, that is going to start us in a hole. 38-25, but at least we kind of kept it close. But thankfully, we do have an FCS game to get us back on track. We don't have a visit week until, I think, week 5, so we're going to be simming for the next couple weeks. And surprisingly enough, Ajani Shepherd set the Syracuse single game passing touchdown record. And Jesus, he ended up throwing 6. 410 with 6 touchdowns. James even had 3 on the ground, 102 yards as well. And I guess it makes sense when we end up scoring 63. And even though it wasn't as commanding of a win, we still ended up beating Missouri State 24-15. But now we're finally hopping into one, and it's a rivalry game, and we got 4 guys visiting this week that are extremely important to the success over the next couple of years. Thankfully, we do have the overall advantage, so let's hope that we can go out there and pick up a win against Pitt. It's been a pretty even game so far, and we're almost at the end of the first half, and it's tied 14-14, but we got a chance to score here as we end up only picking up a couple. But that's a couple more yards closer to the end zone as they ended up wasting their first time out. And hopefully we can get them to waste a couple more, as never mind, we get in the end zone, we'll leave them a little time before half. And we got a chance to do it again, because they ended up fumbling the kickoff, and now we got it down on the 18-yard line with a chance to score again if we can get the speed, as we do. But unfortunately, the guy shed off the block and was able to tackle him for only a gain of 8. Let's go up the middle on this one, where we got a nice little hole again down to the 5. And we may as well keep it on the ground. They don't have any timeouts left, so let's see if we can waste them, as we're going to get stopped. By that, I mean we got absolutely demolished. Well, let's go. We can still get in the end zone here, as thankfully we get that out, and that ends up falling. But we only have 8 yards to go. Let's go for the screen on this one, and let's get the blocks. Let's go. We get up the middle, but he can't get to the goal line. And while I may end up regretting this later, we're going to go for the 7. Why not? Get it to him, and he hangs on. That's a close touchdown. Thankfully, it's been more of that this game, as we're up 18 with just a minute and a half to go as we get through and we pick up a sack and put this game away. And honestly, especially for a rivalry game, it's nice to pick up a win like that, and especially with 4 guys visiting. Hopefully that's going to influence one of them to end up committing. And thankfully we got one guy. We got that 4-star gem at left edge. And even though that win ended up getting us in the top 25, still ended up making us lose out on that 4-star gem quarterback, and it looks like we're also going down on Pape's list too. But we don't have another visit scheduled until week 12 against FSU, so we're going to be simulating for the next 6 weeks, and unfortunately that means that we end up losing our top 25 placement as we lose to NC State 27-24. Unfortunately, things didn't get easier against Virginia Tech as we lost by 4. But the fact that Darian Williams ended up picking up ACC Offensive Player of the Week might actually mean that we beat 6-1 Stanford. And we did, and pretty big too. 45-20, that gives me a little more hope. Good news though is that we did get the 4-star gem at middle linebacker with Lloyd Spangler. But any hope I had just got dashed as we ended up taking a very late loss, 13-7. How do we only score 7? Well, when Shepherd only throws for 151 and a touchdown and INT, it makes sense. Willis had 115 on the ground, but man, we just couldn't get it going. That means that even though we did get the 4-star wide receiver Berryman, we end up losing the 4-star guard. But we continue our ways of winning one and then losing one as we beat UConn 28-7 and then lost to 2-7 at the time, Georgia Tech 38-32. And now it's up to us to stop that trend, because we're going to be playing these last 2 weeks because we have guys visiting both weeks. And this is going to be the toughest one as we're facing Florida State. Our overalls are pretty close, but they're having a great season at number 8. Let's see if we can stop them. And despite the fact that it's 17-10 in the third quarter, it's actually been a pretty boring game, I'm not going to lie. But we got a chance to potentially go up for good here as we're going to loft that up to our slant. That's Brown. And if we could get another block, we could have gotten the end zone. The good news is we have it first and goal with a chance to go up by 2 possessions. Let's see if we can do it. We get a decent hold, but not enough. And if we don't get in the end zone here, I'm a little terrified as to what this fourth quarter might bring, as they send the house there. At the very least, we do need a field goal, so let's just not do anything stupid here as we'll hit the angle, and we actually get in for the 7, and we go up 2 full possessions. And with that, looks like they're going for it on 4th down and 4th and 3 as they just run it. We were not expecting that. Unfortunately, not only did they score, but they got the ball back. But it's 3rd and 6 on the 25. We need to pick up a big stop right here as they run it, and we stop them for the 4th. And on this one, I think we just need to clog up the middle, get some good pressure, get through. There we go. We end up swatting it down, and we end up upsetting Florida State. Sorry, I jumped the gun. They have 3 timeouts. So never mind. We need a couple first downs right here. And there's going to be close to 1 right there. Oh, never mind. He ended up catching that. I thought that it looked like he dropped it. But I think he did that. Okay, that's really confusing. I don't care. We just need to pick up a first down right here as we do. Could have sworn I saw the ball on the turf, but I could be wrong. I might just be extremely tired right now. But let's go. We're not. Oh, we do get free. Let's go, Willis, you absolute monster. I mean, he only ended up picking up 1, but still, he looked like he was going to be tackled in the backfield. And now we wasted all their timeouts. Let's get to the outside, and we can't escape them. So it looks like we might actually give them a little bit of time here before the end of the game. That's going to be extremely unfortunate if that's the case. But no, maybe not. Tremble, let's go. That's a first down. That's going to seal it. Sit down. Do not fumble the ball. And we really cut it close there. That was a lucky pickup right there. But we still upset the Seminoles 24-17. And even though our season isn't going to end up in the ACC Championship or in the playoffs, at least it's nice to upset a team like that. Not just that, but now we are bowl eligible. 6-5 with a chance to make it 7-5. Another game where we got some visits, and honestly, at this point, we're not playing for wins, we're just playing for recruits. And honestly, I wasn't sure which team was going to show up today. The one that was excited about taking down number 9 Florida State, or the one that's just been going win-loss, win-loss, win-loss all season. Thankfully, it was the former, not the latter, as we got a chance to go up by multiple possessions. I mean, 27 in the first half already is insane compared to our usual production, as Willis stays on his feet to the 2. So if the ground game is working, you keep going to it. We get the blocks, but we do get a first down. It's unfortunate that an injury stops the clock, but at the same time, we get the first down, and we're able to get in the end zone and go ahead by 4 possessions. And despite them scoring, I think, 2 more times after that, we thankfully end up picking up the win. We go 7-5 this season, and hopefully that means we're going to have some more recruits. But 5 touchdowns for Shepard again. And he's actually been great all season. I mean, 27 touchdowns to 5 picks, 3,100 yards, and he's got a bowl game to play too. Not just that, but Willis, 1,100 yards with 15 touchdowns. He's someone we're definitely going to miss next season. And then no one ended up going over 1,000 yards, but Murph was the closest, 838. And then Williams had 12 tutties. Now, even though we ended up playing decently well this season, we need to do better than that. And that means that we're going to be firing both our coaches. Hopefully we can find someone better next week. And it looks like our bowl game is going to be the Gasparilla Bowl against Missouri. But even more exciting than that, we got a lot of good guys to end up choosing from. Head coach from Buffalo. I think we're going to end up offering him. He's a level 36 with summon strategist. And defensively, we're going to go with JMU's head coach. And while we still got a lot of guys on our board, we can at least check the depth traits of some of the guys we signed. As the left edge is a star, Patrick Walters, let's go. So is Spangler. We got an impact on the wide receiver. We got an elite on the right guard. Impact, star on the mic. And then just normal development on the quarterback, but some really good depth traits so far. But let's have some fun in this one. Missouri actually looks like they're going to be able to match up with us on paper. Question is, who's going to do it on the field? But the paper has kind of matched the field so far. 14-10 here, which is 2 minutes before the end of the first half. We need to pick up a first down here just so we can kind of stay on top. So let's get that. That's going to be the drag to Brown. But unless we pull off a miracle, we might end up just settling for the field goal here, unfortunately. But oh no, ooh, thank God he didn't pick that. That one didn't get tipped. That was actually going to be a first down. Instead, it's just going to end up being 3 and we're going to be up by 7. Well, it's been back and forth, but they're going for it on 4th down. They're down by 7 with 5 to go as they go for the run. And we're not able to stop them, and not just that, but they're going to actually get in the end zone too. Unfortunately though, our defense just collapses. And we're down 24-34 with just 50-something seconds left. We just need to get any kind of completion here, as we can't, and that is going to be game. And it's going to be another bowl loss. Not exciting. But maybe that'll actually fuel the fire for season number 4 coming up. And hopefully we can get some really good training results on the guys that are going to be staying this season. Well, good news is we did get Bob Chesney to end up signing, so we got ourselves a defensive coordinator, but we don't have an offensive one. I was actually looking at Trey Lamb, but honestly, I saw Chad Butters. No one's offered him anything, and I haven't actually dealt with a coach that has the talent developer path. So I think we're going to give it a shot, and let's see if it ends up working for us. And we're going to get a chance to see if it ends up working as he ends up signing. So we end up taking a little step back this season, going 7-6. And it looks like Nebraska beat Miami in the national championship game 34-3. Miami didn't deserve to be there, but at least it's nice to see an ACC team in there. So let's see. Well, looks like we got a lot of guys that are going to be trying to transfer, and a lot of guys that we don't want to lose. Like Darian Williams, one of our best receivers from this last season, and it looks like he is going to be gone. We could also use this strong safety. He's a junior. Thankfully, he is going to end up staying, one of our highest safeties right now. So we only end up getting one guy to stay, but at least it's one of the highest rated ones. But this is exciting. We got 5 guys going to the draft. Yes, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks. But still, it's nice to see these guys move on and help our pro potential. But that also means that we're going to have to sign some guys as we end up losing a lot of them to transfers. So we're going to have to do our best to sign a lot of these guys before other teams do. Good news is there are a lot of guys in the transfer portal that are willing to take their place, including some guys that ended up leaving us already, like Soliday and also our old tight end. And not only did we pick up both those guys, but we also picked up 22 other guys to make it a class of 24. And looking at our rank, we actually ended the top 25 at number 21. Looking at what Morgan Stevens is going to be, he's going to be a 72 overall as an edge, and actually a 71 as a safety. Realistically, I actually think that we could use him more at the edge, so we're going to put him at right edge. Not just that, but look at this scary sight. We got 4 freshmen that are going to be in our quarterback room. Obviously, one's a red shirt, but we're going to have to hope for some really good increases. And after moving everyone else around, it's time for training results, as we are going to have to upgrade a lot of these guys. Samuel is definitely going to be our best corner, but let's start with the QB. I mean, with skill caps like this, I think Kyrie Cloud could actually be our future quarterback. We'll see how everyone else ends up coming in, but let's upgrade him as much as possible in the accuracy. That is really lacking for him right now. So if we can actually get close to maxing that out, that would be incredible. Again, we're getting really close. He's getting all the way up to an 87 with that. And then with the extra 2, we'll have to save that for next season. But Kyrie is an 87 overall as a freshman redshirt. Not just that, but let's definitely take advantage of Donovan Murph's final season with us, as maybe we can get close to maxing out that speed. And we can do one more. That's going to get him up to an 89 easy, 99 speed as well. We have 4 extra points. We put that in IQ, and he's going to stay in 89. And it wasn't just Murph. We got Roundtree, the sophomore, McQueen, all of them up to over 80. And Riemann here is going to be a 75 as well. And you want to talk maxed out? How about Jordan Orji, who is only a junior, which means we should hopefully have him for next season. But he's maxed out on pass rushing, 99 power moves, and change of direction. And even though he's pretty much maxed out on skill caps, Demetrius Samuel Jr. is going to be our star in the secondary, and going to be really the leader on this defense as well. He's not the only corner we're going to rely on, because Xavier Thomas is an 88 overall and Singleton's an 80 as well. And honestly, the rest of our secondary is going to be good too. Our free safeties 87, 85, 81, and our strong safeties 88, 86, 85. Secondary is definitely the centerpiece. And when we're looking at this roster as a whole, I mean, we have a 91 overall at corner and 89 at receiver. A lot of guys in the 80s. Thankfully, we can scroll down a bit and wait a little bit till we get to the 70s. And after all that, looks like we end up going up to an 88 overall. Offense is still at an 86, which is unfortunate, but I think that's because of our quarterback. But our defense, 91 overall. I'm really hoping that we do better than 7-6 this season. But honestly, I'm really excited to see how Kyrie Cloud does. Again, freshman redshirt. We'll have him for this season and next season. Hopefully next season he might be up at an 80 overall. But it does look like his deal breaker is playing time, so hopefully that means we're not going to lose him. I mean, despite the fact that we do have a pretty difficult schedule here, I mean, it looks like we have 5 teams in the top 25 currently that are on our schedule. We're still an 88 overall, so realistically, we should be okay and be able to compete with some of these guys. But even if we don't, we're still going to be able to recruit some guys that are going to be able to make us a better team in the next couple seasons. As you see up there, we pretty much have a team team need at every single position. And we're going to be going after some better guys this season, especially since we have some of those grades up. I mean, the grades might not necessarily be extremely high, but at least we only have 2 that are red. But the good news is we have a lot of good guys to go after, including Theo Glowinski, a 5-star gem at right tackle. And we also have 2 receivers up here with 93 speed, and hopefully we can end up landing at least one of them. I know that might be a little difficult because, again, our grades aren't necessarily incredible, but they're average enough where we might be able to make it work if we end up winning some games. However, guys like Nolan Maggot here, unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to be able to gain ground on schools like Ohio State or Clemson, so I think we're just going to take them off our board and make sure that we invest those hours elsewhere. But at least we have a pretty easy matchup in our first game of the season. We're taking on FCS Midwest, and even though it was only a win against an FCS team, I'm hoping that the 1-0 record is actually going to boost our championship contender. Well, it did, but then unfortunately losing 41-24 against number 4 Penn State brought it right back down. And unfortunately, we're going to have to sim through some more games because we're not going to have anyone visiting until week 7 against Louisville, which means we're going to be simming this rivalry game against Pittsburgh, and with them at 2-0, makes me a little nervous to sim forward. And looks like I was completely justified. We gave up another 41 points. And that means if we keep slipping the way that we are, we're not going to be landing any of these recruits, especially the 4 and 5 stars. None of them are going to want to come because a 1 and 3 start just doesn't seem that attractive, which means that we're really going to have to sack up here against Liberty at home. And despite the fact that our 91 overall defense gave up another 35 points, we still won 49-35 and gets us back on track. But thankfully that bye week came at the right time because that allowed us to sign one of the 4-star receivers. Because if we had to wait until after this week, I don't know if he would end up committing because there's a very good chance that we end up going down to 2 and 3 after this one. But if that isn't the shock of the century, we end up beating them. Syracuse takes down Clemson. What is this, 2025? I mean, my lord, man, I was expecting us to lose. I was trying to figure out what we were going to do. But we ended up winning 41-38. We're back on track yet again. And even though there are a couple guys that have us locked out because of playing style, still feel like we can pick that up in this game against Louisville. First game that we're playing this season, we got 2 more coming on later on, but I feel like we can actually end up winning this one and hopefully bring us to 4-2. As we approach the end of the first half, and we're not scoring as much as we have in the last couple games, but we definitely have this game in control as we have a chance to score one more time before half. We have plenty of time and 3 timeouts. I don't want to give him a ton of time here, but still, I want to make sure that we do get in the end zone as we do right here to go up by 3 possessions. I'm sorry, make that 2 possessions. 15-point game, but that's exactly where we sit here close to the end of the third quarter as we need to pick this up. As much as I really want to go for it right here, making this actually makes it a 3-possession game. So let's sink that and let's go up by 18. Well, not only did they end up getting a score, but they got the ball back with 1:18. They still need a 2-point conversion, but if we can pick up a stop here, which we almost did, then take him down, someone, come on. This is Louisville, damn it. Gonna say then we should still be able to win, but we just need to keep them out of the end zone here on 4th and 3, but of course he's open down the sideline. And these are the types of scenarios that always give me nightmares because I am not the best at defense, as you can tell right there, as we're not even going to be able to tackle him. I didn't even realize they had one more timeout. I just wanted to keep him in bounds. Still 14 seconds, 1st and goal. Just good coverage. Get around him. Thank you. Finally, we get there for the sack. Best part, too, is they need to hurry up and snap the ball, but they're not going to get there in time. And man, thankfully that sack actually ended up ending the game. But man, we should have won this one a little more handily. But the fact that we only gave up 16 is actually not bad. Kyrie Cloud, our freshman, 313 and 2 touchdowns. Not a bad game. And despite starting the season 1-2, we're up to 4-2 now and ended up defeating a couple pretty damn good teams. But the question is, can we do that against 2-5 Virginia too? I'm assuming that we did because Theo Glowinski, the 5-star gem that we ended up putting atop our board, did end up signing, along with a couple other guys, including the 4-star halfback and also a 4-star tight end too. Oh, it was a really close one, but we still ended up winning by 3, and that actually allows us to get into the top 25 for the first time. But we do only have 2 visit weeks left, and that's going to be this one against Wake Forest and then one in a couple weeks against Miami. So let's hope that we can take down Wake Forest, and then we got a big behemoth in Miami to take down as well. So let's focus on what's in front of us and worry about that later. Because if we don't end up beating Wake Forest, then that game against Miami isn't going to mean too much. So let's make sure we go out there. We end up giving them a big fight as we get down to the 15. But going up 3 possessions before half would be extremely great and would give me a lot of confidence for the rest of this game as Roundtree gets around, and that is going to be a 21-point lead. And surprisingly enough, they're giving us a chance to close this out in the first half. Still 21-0, and we got the ball down here in the red zone with about 50 seconds left. But we're also on a 3rd and 5, so we need to find a way to end up getting a first or a touchdown as we do right there, and we go up 28-0. And while they would end up scoring once in the fourth quarter, we had that game in hand pretty much the entire game. 38-10, big win right there. Now we got to get ready for Miami because they are going to be our final opponent that we hop into for the rest of the season. After this one, the last 3 games are going to be sims. But we can take down Miami. I think that we can solidify ourselves as a top team in the nation. Number 16 against number 12. We are at home. Let's hope that we can take this one home. I wish I could say it's been a riveting game, but we're starting the second quarter and still 0-0. But we do have a chance to end up getting on the board first if we get to hit that hole a little better. The good news is I think that we can convert on third down, as we should have hit him a whole hell of a lot sooner. But thank God he's in the end zone for our first score of the game. And surprisingly enough, our defense is really handling this offense because we got the ball back down here in the red zone with the chance to go up by 2 possessions as we're just short of the first. But getting in the end zone here feels all but inevitable. You know, be nice to be able to go up by 2 possessions right away as... What a diving catch by our tight end. I think that's our backup tight end too. And now we got a 14-0 lead before half. Unfortunately, they'd scored twice really quickly, and now it's a tie game yet again. But Soliday ends up finding a way to get in. And while they scored again, we end up getting a field goal and we got the ball back with 2.5 to go. And we need to find a way to run out the rest of this clock as we end up getting 6 on that. And if they're going to be spending some of those timeouts right now, only a couple first downs should be able to seal the game, as that is one of them right there. Obviously, it's going to be like 1 or 2 more than that, but still, the way we've been running the ball today, I think we can do that. Granted, an injury to our line ended up making the clock stop, so now we got to get a little more than that. There we go. No, you dipshit. And now, unfortunately, with a 3rd and 9, man, we actually have an opportunity to come off the field, but what a great move by our tight end. And that is a first down and might actually start sealing it. I felt probably 3 different emotions over the last 3 plays, but thankfully if we get 1 more first down, we don't have to worry about this anymore because we'll end up running out the rest of the clock because they have no timeouts left. But another injury ends up stopping the clock. Awesome. That's all right because look at those blocks right there. And we're just short because he ran into them. But now on 3rd and 1, we need to pick this up right now if we want to end this game. As it's 4th and inches? Regardless, kicking a field goal here really doesn't do much to really help us. So let's go for the quarterback sneak, and if we turn it over, we turn it over. As we fall forward, and we got the first down, and that should be the game finally. So we finally nail the ball, and we finally win this top 25 matchup. We take down Miami, and we're still looking really good in conference too. But now we have to sim the rest of the season. And by that, I mean the rest of the regular season. There are 3 games left, including this one against UConn. Let's see if we can come out on top. Thankfully we do. 35-21, and all we got is 2 games left of the season. Be really nice to end up finishing the rest of the season undefeated. But number 3, Duke, who is 9-1, is probably going to be our toughest challenge. Wish we could hop into it. Worst part is if we want to have any shot at making the ACC Championship game, we need to beat Duke that final game, because I think Pittsburgh is a team that has the tiebreaker over us, if I'm not mistaken. So either way, 5-1, we cannot drop another game. And that actually makes me nervous for this rivalry game against Boston College, especially since it's on the road. If we don't beat them, I don't think we beat Duke, which we barely end up doing. But now we got what will presumably be the game of the week. Number 3 Duke against number 11 Syracuse. Winner goes to the conference championship game. Even if Duke loses, I think they still have a chance too, but let's make sure we punch our ticket. I mean, realistically, on paper, it looks like a winnable game. We're an 87 overall, they're an 84. I feel like we can end up taking them, but we need a little bit of luck here in Sim. And I'm hoping that Xavier Thomas being the ACC Defensive Player of the Week with 2 interceptions means that we ended up winning. And judging by that, I'm guessing, yes, we went up to number 7. Duke is now number 8, and we got to face them again. Pretty much consecutively here, as we end up taking them on in the ACC Championship game. And it was only a 4-point game, but man, our offense is really starting to hum here. I mean, looking at the stats for the season, Cloud is a freshman right now, and he's got 3,400 yards almost, 26 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And realistically, his deal breaker is playing time, which means he really isn't going anywhere. Parker is 788, Soliday with 269, which together ends up combining over 1,000 yards, and together 19 touchdowns total. Receiving, Roundtree 907 with 8 touchdowns, Murph 838 with 4. Unfortunately, we're going to be losing Murph next season. Same with McQueen. And unfortunately, our tight end as well, but thankfully we're going to be bringing in some other guys. But defensively, man, we're going to be missing Nicholas Clayton next season. Unfortunately, he is injured right now, so realistically, we should be feeling the effect of that. But 11 TFLs, 8.5 sacks this season. Whittington, who's also a senior, 9 TFLs, 4 sacks. Orgy, who might end up being on his way out, 5 TFLs and 2 sacks himself. and he unfortunately is injured. Now, defense, Adiambo, our middle linebacker, has 5 interceptions this season. Xavier Thomas has 3, Long with 3, and then a couple other guys with 1 as well, including our star corner, who only has 1, who's going to be gone after this season. But since we're sitting at number 7 in the nation right now, even if we lose to number 8 Duke in the ACC Championship game, we might actually still punch our ticket to the playoffs. But realistically, we obviously want to win the championship too. It's like I said at the beginning of this video, Syracuse has not won an ACC championship since joining, and we'd really like to be able to give that to them. And the looks of it right now, we're actually kind of on the verge of doing that. And we're down in the red zone with a 4-point lead, and if we get in, we got a shot to be able to have a big lead before half. Losing our best tight end isn't going to help that at all, but hey, still a 2nd and 2, and if we can find a way to get a first, we'll keep this going. I mean, all we need is 2 yards to keep it going. I would prefer not to settle for a field goal as we end up taking Roundtree down to the 5. They're going to start to call some timeouts, so maybe we can burn some clock if we don't get in. That would actually be pretty nice. By that, I also mean their timeouts, because we have to burn 1 more of theirs here on 2nd and goal as, oh my gosh, we might actually get in the end zone. Or we're just going to be short, which means we're going to go for the QB sneak, and we get in the end zone, and we got ourselves a 2-possession lead. Thankfully, it's pretty much been all orange and no blue here, as we're up 21-10 here with 4 minutes to go, and they have a 4th and 8, as I can't believe we left that wide open. I mean, realistically, we had a zone there, just no one decided to keep an eye on it, as we're going to end up hitting him, and nope, that's incomplete. I mean, they have a damn good chance of coming back here if for some reason we don't end up picking this up. But there we go. That's a big play to our tight end down to the 40. Thankfully, they do only have 1 more timeout, so we just need to make sure that we pick up this first down and we start to run the rest of the clock. I mean, they do have the 2-minute warning, don't get me wrong, but realistically, we might have this game in hand. And this first down would actually end up sealing the game, so let's see if we can find someone for the first. He ends up dropping it. That means that we need to hit a deep field goal here if we want to have an 8-point lead and hope to close this game out. As does that have the distance? It does, and we're up by 8 with a minute to go. Well, unfortunately, they made it downfield pretty damn quickly, and with 1:20 to go, they're here in the red zone, and we need to get some pressure. Unfortunately, no one can take him down, and he goes out of bounds. And we're getting pressure, we're just not getting to the quarterback, and that is very important, especially here at the end of the game, as someone take him down again. Actually getting forward progress on that one. Now it's 3rd and goal at the 1. Just don't let them run it up the middle. Can we get through? How did he get wide open? But thankfully they didn't get the 2-point conversion. We secured the onside kick, and we end up winning by 2. Not the prettiest game, one that we had pretty well in hand early on, and almost let slip through our fingers at the end, but we're now ACC champions, and we can mark that off the list. At least now, officially, we can. Now, question is, where are we going to be at in the bracket? Still don't know if we're going to be able to do this in 4 years, but if we could, oh man, that would be incredible. Regardless, though, looking at the guys on our board, we're in first in a lot of these battles, but thankfully, because it is early National Signing Day, we can see some depth traits of the guys that already did sign. So we do have Normal right there. Couple impacts, which is actually really nice, but wow, let's go. An elite on the right tackle. I'm glad that we end up signing the 5-star. That's great, but everyone else is pretty much just impact or normal. But that might not actually matter because we end up getting a 1st-round bye, and we're going to be taking on number 5 Nebraska in the Cotton Bowl. But even if we end up winning this one, we still got a pretty tough road ahead as we're going to be facing either Florida State or undefeated Ohio State. And then in the bottom bracket, we got Michigan, Indiana, Houston, and Auburn. But we can't look too far ahead because, again, we're going to be taking on Nebraska here, and they have a pretty damn good team. An 89 overall across the board. Hopefully we can end up hanging in there with them, and hopefully we can come out on top. Because I've never completed a rebuild in 4 years, and I would really love for this one to be the first one. As we're down here in the red zone, we got a really big hole. Can't quite get to the outside, but we're down to the 6. Now, even though we do have an injured lineman now, still feel like we can end up scoring. 5-yard line. Let's find a way to get in the end zone as he can't hold on. So much for getting the end zone. At this point, we're going to be lucky if we get anywhere close as they are not getting in the end zone, but thankfully we can get around. We can end up scrambling in. We got an early lead. And after a few more scores and our defense only holding them to 6, we got a chance to kind of put this away here at the end of the 3rd quarter. We can end up making this a 3-score lead. That would be ideal, but we're just short of the 1st down marker. But a field goal would put us up by 3 possessions. Question is, can we hit it from this far out? We got the distance. Oh, hold on. It looks like that was actually short, but He ran into the kicker and we got a little bit of life. And I don't care if we win this game because we get bailed out on stuff like that, as long as we end up winning the game. As we end up hitting solid A, and that's going to be a first. Now it's time to run as much clock off as possible and also find a way to get a score. However, we can get into the end zone sooner rather than later. That'd be great too. And any kind of score would end up making this a 3-possession lead. So let's see if we can get out there. And no, we are way short. Well, I thought a swing pass would work. I have no idea. However, oh, no one's on this side of the field. And yeah, we're going to end up going down. I don't want to risk anything. I don't know why I felt like he was a little faster, but it's okay. As long as we end up getting the field goal, it's going to be worth it. And thank God we did, because it's a 5-point game now. And they got the ball with 2.5 to go. Thankfully, we have 3 timeouts if we need them for any reason. I mean, they only have 2 timeouts, so if we get the ball back, we could potentially ice it. But again, if they keep getting 5-yard gains on these, things are not going to look good for us, as no one is there, but he knocks it out. I didn't think he was going to step up and take him, but thankfully this team has proven me wrong. 3rd and 5 right here. We need to get a big stop. Get through. This is going to be a quick pass. No! He ends up taking him down. Good coverage. But now on 4th and 6, we need to send a big blitz and end up stopping him. There it is right there! And that ends up sealing the game. I mean, we still had to pick up a first down, which we ended up doing, but we end up coming out of this one 24-19. After almost giving the game up there at the end. Thankfully, we still end up coming out on top, and we're going to the semis. I mean, 13 points in the 4th quarter, though, is a little scary. And we can't be doing that against Ohio State, who, unfortunately, is going to be our next opponent. Worst part is not only are they undefeated, but they're 95 overall. A little bit better than what we just faced, and I think it's going to be a really tough one. But we want to win a natty, we got to take down teams like this. But unfortunately, they are rated that way for a reason, because we're down 28-0 right now. This is embarrassing. And we're going to try to... Yeah, that was really stupid. And that's pretty much how this game's been going. Come on, we just need to hang 1 touchdown on what will probably be the eventual national champions. As there's McQueen, and we finally score! But again, needless to say, it really wasn't going to matter at all. We go down 31-7. But hey, at least we made it to the semis. But at least this makes me feel a little bit better. Ohio State took down Auburn, went perfect, 16-0 this season, and ended up winning the Natty. So in a way, I guess we kind of got 3rd place, right? Either way, we do have a lot of guys that are at risk for transferring, and my goodness, there are some damn good players here. We have 8 persuasions, and we got 10 players. Even though these are extremely low, there are better rated players. So let's try to get some of these guys back. Xavier Thomas, unfortunately, is not. Stump is actually going to stay. Let's go. Our junior free safety is going to be staying. Let's go. We did end up getting our linebacker back, who ended up having a lot of picks last season. But thankfully, there are a handful of these guys that are going to be staying. And if you look at this too, looks like we have a couple guys that might end up being drafted. We got a potential 6th, 4th, and 2nd round pick. I mean, yes, we are going to miss them, but still, having 3 guys being drafted this season, 2nd, 4th, and 5th, is actually a nice accomplishment. But thankfully, we do have the transfer portal to be able to help us out. And as you can see, there are a lot of guys that are interested, including the number 4 ranked prospect. I'm really hoping that some of these 4-stars are going to end up committing and be able to take their places. And one of those guys that I really want is Kyson Allen here, who is a speedster 4-star with 94 speed and 95 acceleration. And even Sam Kalakipi here, who is a cornerback, 96 speed, 94 acceleration, 99 change of direction off the rip. Thankfully, we ended up getting Kalakipi. However, I am not sure. We did end up signing Kyson Anderson as well. We were actually getting down to 2nd place, but thankfully he committed to us. And thankfully we did too, because even though Anderson was only an impact, Kalakipi is an elite, and that's going to be great over a cornerback. Not just that, but Ebby, the halfback, is actually a star too. Everyone else pretty much is just normal or impact. But thanks to those signings, we end up having a top 10 class as well. And realistically, we shouldn't have a lot of position changing to go for, because Cam Worthy's going to come in. He's going to be a 75 halfback. However, I feel like we do need a tight end. As a 73 physical route runner, I think he could be good. That'll actually get him on the field sooner, because he would actually be pretty low on the depth chart as a halfback. However, as a tight end, he's actually going to see the field. One other big change that we ended up making was Lawrence Lee, who is one of our safeties, went down to Will and went up to an 85. And even though the offensive line does look a little weak, and actually kind of the same thing with our defensive line as well, I still feel like after training results, we could have a really good team to potentially win a natty with. And we came pretty close last season, but unfortunately got overpowered in the semis. But with 63 skill points to spend on Kyrie Cloud, I think we might have a quarterback that could actually take us to the promised land. But being able to max out his accuracy, add a little bit to power, and some to IQ, got him up to a 93 overall. Not just that, but John Ebby, who's the halfback that we just brought in the transfer portal, ends up going up to an 89, and that's going to be a really lethal duo. And that's not even mentioning our wide receiver room that has 2 88 overalls and 2 other guys that are going to slot in pretty well. Not just that, but 3 of them are in the mid-90s for their speeds too. And on the defensive side, our defensive line, again, doesn't necessarily look the best. However, I think our secondary is going to help us. As Mason Dunn here is an 89 overall with 27 skill points. We're going to end up maxing out the man coverage, the zone coverage. I think we're going to end up increasing his quickness as well, and that actually brings him up to a 92. And Sam Kelekepe, who's the one that we just ended up getting in the transfer portal as well, has 60 skill points starting out at an 85. And if we actually go and try to max out the man coverage and the zone coverage, I think he's going to get up pretty high, as that does end up bringing him up to a 91. And even our safeties look good, because Stump here has 44 skill points, already an 87. And if we start increasing the IQ, the pass coverage, and probably even the run supports, he's going to get up to a pretty good overall. And even Drew Keenan, who's our other safety, is up to a 91 overall. Our secondary is going to be great this season. And when all was said and done, we ended up coming out to a 92 overall with a 94 overall defense. I mean, look at how many guys we have in the 90s and the high 80s here. I feel like we can actually contend this season. I'm hoping that we can actually win it this season, but just in case we don't, still got a lot of guys on the board, and as you can see with the success we had last season, there are a lot of 4-stars up here that actually have us first on their board, and even a couple of 5-stars as well. And with a schedule like this, we should be able to land a lot of these guys, because we only have what looks to be 3 ranked teams on our schedule currently. And I don't know if Pittsburgh's going to stay up there, but Florida State and Notre Dame are going to be tough games. But again, with the team that is a 92 overall, I feel like we could really compete with these guys and potentially go undefeated this season. And this definitely looks like a good start. In Ebby's first start at Syracuse, 16 carries, 171, averaging over 10. And I'm guessing that means that we ended up winning, but now we got to take on number 11 Notre Dame. And the fact that our defense was able to hold FCS East to 0 points leads me to believe that we might be able to beat them. My biggest worry is the fact that they have a 99 overall offense. And honestly, if we want to make it to the playoffs, I think we can only afford to lose 1 game this season. But thankfully, it wasn't going to be that one. We took them down 37-31. Our defense obviously gave up a bunch of points. However, our offense was humming. Cloud, 295 with 2 touchdowns. And then Abby with 2 on the ground as well. And thankfully we did too, because we're not going to be hopping into a game until we end up facing SMU in week 7. So that means that we're going to have to simulate 4 weeks. And we already simulated the 3 that I knew we were going to have no trouble with, despite the fact that we only beat Louisville by 1 point. But this is the one that I'm really worried about. Number 19, Florida State on the road. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but if we end up dropping this one, there are 4 other teams that are undefeated. I know it's only 1 or 2 games, but still, we're going to have to dig ourselves out of a hole if that's the case. But on paper, we look like we match up pretty well. We're a little better in the overall and defense, but our offenses are about the same. Question is, who ends up winning it in sim? The fact that we actually have a couple commits here leads me to believe that we might have actually won. We have 2 4-stars, 3 4-stars that ended up signing with us. However, I was completely wrong. They dropped 52 on our 94 overall defense, and now we're going to have to dig ourselves out of a hole. Thankfully, we did only drop to number 8 in the polls, though. And because of that, that means that we end up dropping on a couple guys' boards, and we end up losing a wide receiver to Michigan. But now we have a shot to right the wrongs of that last game and be able to go out on another big winning streak again. As we start at home against SMU, we have a pretty hefty overall difference between us, so hopefully we can come out on top. This hasn't been much of a contest so far. Halfway through the second quarter, and we actually have a 14-0 lead. And aside from the fact that our defense has given up 0 points, this offense has been moving the ball pretty well as Ebby gets around that. Honestly, he was an amazing find in the transfer portal, and thankfully that is paying off for us as he gets in for a second touchdown of the day. It's crazy how a team of a lot of transfers ends up really kind of gelling together so quickly. You're definitely not going to hear me complain as we're up 42-10 here in the fourth quarter, and we're just dominating this SMU team as we end up getting another big gain to the 30. But 45-10, we definitely make a statement after that loss to Florida State. And as you see right there, Ebby, 148 and another 3 touchdowns. And I just had to look just to see how he's doing after 7 games. He's already almost at 800 yards and 14 touchdowns. And unfortunately, it hasn't gotten him any Heisman consideration. But thankfully, we have a pretty manageable schedule for the last 5 games of the season. Virginia's going to be tough at 5-1, but we're going to be hopping into the games against Boston College because it's a rivalry game, and number 18 Pittsburgh as well. We beat Virginia 49-17 and then just demolished Washington State 62-13. But we do have one last game to sim this year, and that is against Virginia Tech at home. We need to stay perfect before we hop into these next 2 games. And thankfully we demolished them too, 49-16, but now we got 2 rivalry games that are going to round out this year. Pittsburgh has dropped out of the top 25, but we're still number 4. Just because they ended up dropping out, though, doesn't mean it's not going to be a tough game. Now it's up to us to finish this season strong. We're taking on 5-5 BC at home. Obviously, that big overall advantage yet again. So hopefully we can come out on top and still only have 1 loss in the end. And even though they were the team to score first, we've scored 14 unanswered with a chance to make it 21 as we go up the middle, get decent blocks, but only get a couple. But that's not going to be enough to keep us out of the end zone as we're going to go to the air on this one. We're going to hit that angle route, and Abby's going to get in the end zone for a touchdown. And this is literally the first time any of us have had a chance for points since that touchdown. So let's see if we can go back on the board again. We'll end up hitting that to Anderson, who gets to a 2nd and 3. Best part is Abby is on fire right now, and if we can get some good blocks, which we do, we're going to be just short of the end zone. I thought he was going to have the power, but apparently not. But this time we end up doing it. Now we got 28. But unfortunately, it looks like they're trying to mount a comeback. They ended up scoring. They're only down by 2 possessions, but we can get them off the field on this 4th down, as we don't. And they end up getting a reception to 38. But 2nd time's a charm. We'll stop them here on a 4th and 1. Let's just get some pressure. We're sending a bunch of guys. Come on, Thomas just overpowering them. But he still gets the ball out. They would inevitably end up scoring on that one, unfortunately. Great play by the quarterback to be able to get the ball out on that one as we end up picking up 5 on the ground. Right now, a 1st down would end up sealing it as we go for the bubble, but Anderson's just short. But at least we're wasting all their timeouts, and also the fact that they didn't get the extra point. So if we get this, I think we're good to go. Way to go, Burrow! And that should be the end of the game. I'm going to end up being a close one in the very end, especially against Boston College, but those rivalry games are always a little bit tough. But we still end up coming out on top 28-20. Not our best offensive performance, but the defense definitely held it down. And even though Ebby ended up picking up 3 touchdowns, just under 100 yards is a little upsetting. That just means that he's probably going to get locked out of Heisman contention. But at least we're sitting at the top of the polls. However, remember when I said Pittsburgh wasn't ranked anymore? Well, unfortunately, they snuck back and they're number 24 now, so this is going to be a big matchup to end the season. I mean, even if we do win, there's a chance we don't make it to the conference championship game because Clemson and Miami look like they have a tiebreaker over us. Or at least in Clemson's case, they've already gone 7-1. So that means they're kind of solidified right there, but we can end up solidifying ourselves as well if we take down number 24 Pittsburgh. 84 overall, so a little better than some of the other teams we played this season, but still think we can come out on top. And honestly, it's been a pretty quiet game in this first half. We've been able to score, but they have not. I was expecting the score to be a little bit higher at this point in the game, but apparently not. But if we keep putting the ball on the ground to Ebby like we have been, I think we're going to be able to get more scores than just the 7. However, he couldn't get in on 2nd down, so we're going to the air for this one. That's a touchdown, but we got a flag, and that's going to be coming back to a hold. Leads me to believe that Sin does not want us to win this game, but if we have our tight end open in the corner, he dropped it! That was going to put the score up 14-0. Instead, we had to kick the field goal, and it's only 10. And even though we've scored again since then, I just still can't believe he did not haul that one in, as we got to run right up the middle for a good 6. As long as we keep the ball on the ground, I think we're going to be perfectly fine as Dynasty ends up getting up there, and that's a touchdown for him too. But regardless, we've really been able to keep Pittsburgh in check. 24th in the nation. We've held them to 6 points all game. Unfortunately, we can't... Oh, we do stop them there and we get the ball back. I definitely thought he had possession, but thankfully he did not, and we ended up scoring on that next possession with a chance to get him off the field on 4th and 10 yet again. Let's get some good pressure as they just go deep, and that ball is going to be out of bounds. And after that, we just kept piling on the points. They ended up getting a touchdown as well, but still, we end up winning by a huge margin, and Cloud ends up getting player of the game this week. Not Ebby, but still, nice to spread it around. I mean, when you end up throwing for 303, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions, you kind of deserve it. Ebby, unfortunately, ended up going out with an injury, but still got 52 yards and 2 touchdowns before he went down. Nice to know that we actually had guys to be able to fill in after that. No one with over 100 yards, but still, spread it around pretty well. And also defensively, a couple TFLs, no sacks, but 1 interception. The question is that enough to be able to make it to the conference championship game? Well, whether we did or not, Kyrie Cloud ended up setting the Syracuse single-season passing touchdowns record. And not just that, but John Ebby set the Syracuse single-season rushing touchdown record as well. This offense was prolific compared to the past, and thankfully it was enough to be able to get to the ACC Championship game where we're going to be playing Duke again. And honestly, with stats like this, we kind of deserve it. I mean, over 3,000 yards with Cloud, 30 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Ebby, 1,200, almost 1,300 yards. If he would have stayed healthy in that last game, he would have had it. But 22 touchdowns on the ground. Not just that, but 12 other ones from a couple other players as well. No one over 1,000 yards, but we spread it around pretty well. Roundtree, Anderson, and Burrow all over 700 yards with multiple touchdowns, and Aragon with over 507 touchdowns as well. And then, of course, the defense, good enough to be able to get to where we're at, 11-1. A couple guys with 9 TFLs, couple with 5. Not a ton of sacks. Spangler leading the team with 3.5, but still, we got some pretty good pressure. Dunn with 4 interceptions. Kelekepe with 3. I'm glad we ended up bringing him in. And a couple other interceptions for some other guys as well. This is definitely an 11-1 team. But the question is, can we win another ACC championship? We did it last season. If we can do it here, I think we get a first-round bye. But they're an 89 overall, definitely one of the tougher teams that we're playing this season. And they're the number 6 team in the nation, sitting at 10-2 right now, and in the ACC Conference Championship game. So, makes a lot of sense why they're pretty good. And obviously, we're struggling right now as we're in the second half, and we are down currently. But this screen pass might actually get us into the end zone, as that is a great pancake. That will lead us to a 1st and goal here. With 46 seconds left, let's find a hole to get in, which we can. It's Ebby. He's had a great season. I know he can get into the end zone on this one, especially with those blocks right there. Plus, the defense gets it back to us really quickly and down on their side of the field as Ebby goes up the middle, gets a big gain down to the 5. And we could go up right here. Oh my goodness, man. I would be so happy as we're going to have to scramble out. And honestly, let's just get rid of that one. We don't want to make any bad decisions. Granted, one could argue that I made a lot of bad decisions in this rebuild, but regardless, this is not going to be a bad one right here, as we're going to end up getting that to our drag, and Roundtree gets us the lead. But we didn't pick up the extra point. We sinned it, and we didn't get it, and we're only up by 6 now with 3 minutes to go, as we need to pick up a big stop, as unfortunately they get a big gain on that one. So I think it's time that we actually control the secondary here and see if we can actually make sure we bottle stuff up. As thankfully we do. Good coverage, and that's a sack. Best part about that is, again, they need a lot of yards here if they want to have any shot at getting a dub. Because right now 3 points means absolutely nothing, which means they're going to be going for it on 4th down. So let's bait right there. And let's make sure that we keep things bottled up as he throws it away again. So maybe he has to just stop controlling the defensive line, because I kind of suck when that happens. So let's go. Let's go. Bad throw right there, and we get the ball back. And unfortunately, the offense couldn't do anything, which means that's up to the defense again. Well, they got the ball on our side of the field as they end up getting 5. I mean, again, they need to get in the end zone right here if they want to win, and they're going to go for a run? I don't understand that one at all. Why would you end up running on 2nd down right there? As we're going to keep everything bottled up. They go deep. And he catches it. What are we doing in the secondary? Means we got a minute 16 to go downfield and get a field goal. Can we do it? Well, if we keep getting short gains like that, we might be able to. And realistically, we're going to end this game with the ball, and I'm happy with that. We got 3 timeouts as well, so hopefully that'll be enough to be able to get us some good yardage. Let's go, Ebby! Gets all the way down the sideline. We're down to the 34. I mean, what a huge gain right there, and what a big play. As we got 54 seconds left, let's get some good yardage here. Unfortunately, not the greatest blocks, though. You can tell they're starting to get nervous, though. So let's see what we can do on this RPO as we end up hitting our tight end. Worthy has got a 1st down, and we're down in field goal range now. Not just that, but they have no timeouts left. So let's see if we can center this up and make sure that it's a good kick. Realistically, we shouldn't be running anymore, but Ebby deserves a couple more yards, and if we can get a little bit closer, that'd be great. And so with 2 seconds left, it's time to take our field goal and take our conference championship, as we end up sealing it right there, and we end up making a comeback to win 23-21. We wouldn't have missed that extra point. That wouldn't have been a problem, but still, we end up coming out on top, and we end up winning another ACC championship. That game was tougher than I wanted it to be, but still, That's a nice accomplishment. 2 consecutive ones, and I think that means that we should have a first-round bye. And even though we didn't end up winning the Heisman, Ebby was still the best running back in the nation. But before we look at the bracket, it is early National Signing Day, and if we do have to go for another season or two, it's going to be nice because these guys are going to really help out us. Unfortunately, that is a couple of normal development, 1 impact, which is great. I do see a star in our will linebacker, which is really great, but don't really see anything else. A star on the left tackle, but that's it. And look at that. We actually have a potential to end up taking on Duke yet again. We're going to be taking on the winner of Duke, Miami, and then if we end up beating them, it's either going to be Middle Tennessee, Notre Dame, or Houston. In the bottom, we got Clemson and Michigan, which is going to be tough. USC, Auburn, Nebraska, and Florida, not too bad. I feel like we can end up running this one. But that all depends on who we end up playing next, and looks like Duke went down to Miami, which means that I think we actually have a tougher matchup here, unfortunately. But we've been doing well all season. I feel like we can go out here and end up getting the first win. Because minus that 1 loss to Florida State this season, we've absolutely dominated. And we're actually doing a really good job right now as we're up 7-0. And we have a chance to potentially get 14 right here if Ebby can get through the middle and he gets to the 1. But we should be able to just pound the ball into the end zone right here to be able to get that 2-score lead. And even though I had the confidence that we're going to win this one, I didn't think that we're going to be dominating this much. They've only been able to get 3 points on our defense. And our offense has a chance to be able to go up by 4 possessions now. Question is, can we get it as we go to the outside? We're just short. Not just that, but Ebby goes down with an injury, which is never great. As we go for the RPO, and we're able to get the first down with our backup. And we also get a fresh set of downs on that as well as we go for the, let's go. We go for the bubble and we end up getting the touchdown. Now we're at that point in the game where they're starting to go for it on 4th down. So let's see what we can do to end up stopping them right here, as they're going to be out, but they do end up picking up the first. But realistically, they weren't going to get multiple scores in the last minute and a half. We end up taking them down 31-3. Again, our defense was absolutely dominant there, and the offense did more than enough to be able to win this one. And that's going to bring us into the semis, which does give us a matchup against number 4 Houston in the Rose Bowl. And then from there, the winner ends up playing the winner of Clemson and Florida. But we need to take down Houston first. It looks like their offense is definitely carrying their team. A 76 overall defense in the semifinals. Let's hope we can put it to them. But maybe I shouldn't have said anything because we haven't scored in the first quarter, and Houston has. So, unfortunately, we're finding ourselves down early. But if we can find a way to end up tying this up, that would be ideal as we end up hitting Burrow down to the 5. Thankfully, that injury to Ebby only lasted for that game, and he is back here down in the red zone as he ends up finding his first touchdown of the game, and we got a tie game. We're able to get a field goal before the end of half, but they got a chance to score here. But we can also end their drive right here as well as we end up getting the pick. Kalakipi down on the 1-yard line though. But unfortunately, we've fallen on some hard times since then. But we are down here in the red zone. We are down by 1 possession, and we're going to still be down by 1. But that's not going to last for long, as here on 2nd and goal, we're going to end up. Great move by Roundtree. Definitely had him fooled on that one, and we also get the ball back here too, as we end up throwing a bad ball across the middle. He just absolutely fooled them there, and it was more than enough to be able to pick up the score. And now we got ourselves a chance to put this game away, as it's a tie game with about 2 minutes to go. All we need is a field goal to be able to get to the national championship game, but I have a feeling we can potentially get more than that. But realistically, we do just want to end the game with the ball in field goal range, preferably. As we get a nice hole up the middle, that's a good 8. And that gets us just a little bit closer as we're going to hit our tight end in the flat who holds on to it. We're still just outside field goal range, unfortunately. But the good news is we are running some clock off, which is definitely going to help as we hit Anderson for a couple who stays on his feet. And that's going to be a first down in field goal range. Now all we have to do is hold on to the ball and make sure that we don't give the ball back to them. That will require them burning one more timeout, as they probably will right here. And honestly, just make sure you go down, because again, we do not want to give them the ball back. We don't want them to have a chance to potentially end up winning, or at the very least make a comeback and end up tying it up. So let's make sure we center this. And this right here is going to be the kick that sends us to the national championship game. It's got enough, and we got ourselves a dub. And that means we are only 1 win away from winning a national championship. 20-17 against Houston. Surprised that we ended up taking down Miami easier. But realistically, there's one team that I'd rather see in the national championship game than the other. And thankfully, that is the one that I wanted to end up facing. Because even though it would have been cool to have 2 teams in the ACC in the national championship game, we wanted to assert our dominance over the SEC. So let's go out there. They're an 89 overall I feel like we can take them down. We've taken down harder teams this season. Let's hope we can come out of here with a natty. And thankfully, we're the team that has the chance to potentially strike first as we get it into the end zone right there. Unfortunately, they've scored 7 after that, and they got a chance to score 7 more as they just run it up the middle as we can't stop them. And needless to say, we do not want to go down by a score here. Florida is still a damn good team, and unfortunately they get in. So that means that we really need to score here before the end of the half, as we end up getting a little bit closer to Anderson. We got plenty of time to be able to end up getting this score right here. Got a little bit of motion here so we can go for the stretch play, but we get nowhere. But I trust our offense down here in the red zone. They've been great all season as we end up getting out there, and we just throw it away. I shouldn't have said anything about the offense until we ended up getting in the end zone, but I still think it's going to pay off. So nice to have multiple receivers that can end up catching the ball and making great plays. Just wish we had a running back to do it too. But realistically, Ebby has really been great. He's set a lot of records. Question is, can he get into the end zone? He certainly has this season, but unfortunately hasn't really been in this game yet. But we got Anderson, who can't hold on. And it's a national championship game, and we only need 3 yards. And Anderson's going to be able to get it right here, and we're going to score. Maybe not on that one right there, but definitely right here. Been pretty back and forth this game, and unfortunately it continues right here as, oh my gosh, I was covering the seam. I thought he was going deep on that one, and if he would have, we were ready for the pick, but no, definitely not right there, as they end up getting some pretty good room, but thankfully not enough to get free. So let's go. They go with a fake. How did we not catch that? I thought we were there for that, but apparently not. Unfortunately, as they go up the middle, that was a tailor-made stop right there for a field goal. As they go up the middle, and they get in the end zone, and it's a tie game. But a couple really big plays end up bringing us down there again. We are going to give them a chance to, unfortunately, score, but as long as we go up, I'll be happy. And a 3-and-out ends up giving us the ball back, as all we have to do now is get a couple first downs and just ice this game as Effie almost gets free. As great as a touchdown would have been, we, again, did not want to give them the ball back. So I'm glad that we didn't get it. So I'm glad we didn't get completely free on that one, as we are just marching the ball downfield and yet again picking up a first down almost. But unfortunately, an injury to our line ends up stopping the clock. So that clock is not going to continue to run, and they're not going to waste their final timeout until now. I think if we get one more first down, we could potentially just ice this game, as we get a couple there. And we truly just need to fight for the 8 yards right here as we get it up the middle, but we can only get 2. Worst part is Ebby gets injured, and again, ends up stopping the clock. So 3rd and 6 right here, we just need to pick up a first down as Burrow ran back for it. And we've been taking chance after chance in this game and throughout this entire season. So I think we need to go for it on 4th and 2. Again, a field goal for them isn't going to mean much, so the fact that they're close to field goal range isn't really going to help them too much. But if we can just ice it right here, we're national champions, and we're not going to have to worry about them getting downfield. As we get it to Roundtree, we got the first down, and we're national champions now. It took 5 seasons to get here and 2 ACC championships, but finally, we can say that the Syracuse Orange have won a national championship, and in convincing fashion as well. That may have been a really close one right there, but we've been dominating all season. Like I said, only that one loss to Florida State was that blemish on this season, and I'm just super happy that we're able to actually do this in 5 seasons. I mean, it was even enough to give Ebby the ACC single-season rushing touchdowns record as well. And we shouldn't be surprised with an offense that produced stats like this. I mean, Cloud, 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, to only 3 interceptions on the season. Abby with 1,656 yards, 27 touchdowns, and even our backup with 7. Cloud had 5 on the ground as well. Receiving at the end of the year, Roundtree had over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, but Anderson with 11 touchdowns, just short of the 1,000-yard mark. And again, our defense just really coming in clutch. Spangler with 15 TFLs to end the season and 7 sacks. Definitely ended up getting them when they mattered the most. And it's a really great trophy room to have at the end of this rebuild as well, especially with that national championship and the 2 ACC championships as well. And this may have been a strange path to take to get here, but 6-7 after a 10-3 season, up to 9-4, back to 7-6, but finally 12-3, winning the Cotton Bowl and the ACC championship. to winning the national championship this season. And it actually almost makes me sad that we're not going to be able to play with any of the new guys that we ended up getting and recruiting this season. But still, the fact that we're able to do this in 5 seasons makes me extremely happy, and nice to see Syracuse finally get some gold. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any ideas for new rebuilds, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like. If you're new, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.